The argument started at 6:47 a.m. over eggs and nightmares. Sarah had just set the plate on the table when Mark jolted awake from the couch, drenched in sweat, eyes wild with terror. He had been sleeping there for weeks now, unable to rest beside her, unable to sleep without trembling. "You screamed again last night," she said quietly, pouring coffee. "I couldn't sleep." Mark didn't answer. He stared at his hands like he didn't recognize them. His fingers twitched like they were still on the trigger of something. "Did you take your meds?" she asked, trying to sound casual. "I don't need them," he said flatly. Sarah sighed, sitting down across from him. "Mark, you're having hallucinations. You grabbed me in your sleep last week. You looked at me and said, 'They're behind you.' You keep waking up thinking you're still deployed. That's not normal." His knuckles whitened around the coffee mug. "You don't know what normal is," he muttered. "I know this isn't it," she snapped, louder than she intended. "I'm walking on eggshells in my own house. You sleep with a knife under the pillow. Last week, you locked the door and pushed the dresser in front of it. You're scaring me, Mark." He looked at her then, really looked, and she saw the shame flood his face like a broken dam. But he didn't say sorry. He never did. Just picked up the fork, poked at the eggs, then quietly said, "They're runny." Sarah stood, the chair screeching across the floor. "Then make them yourself." Mark sat alone at the table after she left, hearing her car peel out of the driveway. He closed his eyes, and for a moment he was back there. In a blown-out building somewhere hot and godless, radio static in his ear, dust in his throat, the smell of blood and engine fuel thick in the air. There were nights he couldn't tell if he was dreaming or awake. Once he swore he saw a child standing in the hallway of their home holding a doll, only it wasn't a doll. It was a grenade. He flipped the lights on and nothing was there. Just the echo of breathing that wasn't his. PTSD had marked him like invisible shrapnel. It hid in his spine, his lungs, his dreams. Therapy sessions helped little. Meds made him feel like a zombie. And Sarah, she had stopped trying. Her empathy had turned into annoyance, her worry into distance. He felt it widening like a canyon. Then came the suspicion. It started with small things: whispered phone calls in the bathroom, her giggles late at night while scrolling through her phone, the way she suddenly got dressed up just to go to Target. Mark had learned to watch for patterns. He'd been trained to. And the pattern here screamed betrayal. He didn't confront her. Not directly. Not yet. Instead, he installed surveillance cameras, tiny, undetectable, tucked into vents, bookshelves, and the corners of rooms. It wasn't just paranoia. It was about clarity, truth. Weeks passed. Mark barely spoke. Sarah moved like a ghost around the house. Then one day he watched the footage and saw it. Her and James, the neighbor. At first it was just long hugs, then coffee on the back patio. One night they kissed on the couch where Mark had spent sleepless nights. It gutted him. When the divorce proceedings began, Sarah walked in with her lawyer, emotionally drained but resolute. She expected a fight over assets, perhaps some bitterness, but nothing could have prepared her for what came next. Mark's lawyer slid a USB stick across the polished oak table. "Exhibit B," he said, clicking the first video onto a screen. There it was, her laughter, her hand on James' chest, her lips on his neck, video after video, silent, damning, undeniable. Sarah's face drained of color. She looked at Mark, who sat with his hands folded, unreadable. "You filmed me?" she gasped. "I protected myself," he said, his voice colder than any battlefield. Her lawyer whispered something, but Sarah couldn't hear. The blood was roaring in her ears. The betrayal she thought she'd felt now paled in comparison to the violation of being watched in her own home. But legally, there was nothing she could do. The cameras were in Mark's name, in a shared residence, and none had been placed in private areas like bathrooms or bedrooms. It was admissible, and it destroyed her case. Worse still, when her lawyer began asking about their shared assets, Mark revealed what he had done months earlier: transferred property, hidden funds in a family trust, refinanced their home under his sister's name. Legally airtight. Ethically. It was war. Sarah moved out a month later with only her clothes and a box of paintings she couldn't look at anymore. Mark stayed in the house, alone. He still had the nightmares, still clutched the knife sometimes, but he no longer screamed. Now the silence was worse. He often sat on the couch, rewinding the security footage, not to see the affair again, but to look at the moment before. The moment she smiled, the moment she stopped loving him, trying to find the exact second he became invisible. Epilogue. Years passed. They didn't speak. Sarah rebuilt her life in pieces: therapy, painting, quiet. She never fully forgave him, not for the cameras, not for the coldness. But sometimes when she lay awake at 2 a.m., she thought about the soldier who used to hold her hand during storms, the man who wrote her letters about the stars over Baghdad. And Mark? He finally filed for medical retirement, his medals boxed in the attic. He kept a single photo of Sarah, laughing, head tilted back, sunlight in her hair, taped inside the back of a book he never opened. He could still hear her voice sometimes in the echoes of his dreams. And in those moments, she wasn't yelling, she was just gone.